Welcome to this webinar on an introduction to the University Canvas framework. And as I say, we'll talk through how to edit the homepage, a little bit about Panopto recording, the week-by-week view, and then also help and resources at the end. So what I'm going to try and do is get straight in to this, and I'm going to try to share my screen. So hopefully what I'll show you now is exactly what you guys will see when you go into Canvas and when you start trying to edit your module. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen there, and you can see Canvas open up. What I'll do is go to my dashboard. So I'm going to go through some basics with Canvas as well while we're doing this, just because I think it'd be useful as a little reminder to people. When you go into Canvas, hopefully now you should all be able to see the modules which you are involved in teaching or leading on. Now you'll see at the top here, it's only showing published courses, so it might be you have to scroll down to your unpublished courses down here to find your modules. If you can't see them down here, contact your program office and they'll be able to give you access to the modules which you need. So here I've just got an empty module course. I'll open it up, called Joe UCF example. And this is what you should see when you get your empty module, your newly minted Canvas framework. This is the kind of page you should see. The video that's in there at the moment is one of Jerry's videos. Obviously, that's just to show you really what it would look like, or what it should look like when you've worked on it and when you've put your own video in there. So the first thing I wanted to show you was just how to edit this page and how to edit some basic information on there. So most of this stuff you don't need to touch. So these links, module overview, week by week, and assessment of feedback are standard links. The bits you might use to edit, or your program team may edit, depending on how things work on your module, are the module code, module name. Put your school name in there. Obviously the homepage video, which we'll come to in a moment, which is a little bit fiddly. And the key contacts at the bottom here. And finally the link to your undergraduate handbook, or you might change that to postgraduate handbook if it's a postgraduate course. So that is just a link to the handbook pages. So to make any changes to this, you just click the edit button. You can stretch this out a little bit. And then what I like to do is I kind of click in the middle of the bit I need to change, and then put in whatever the module code is, and then sort of delete out the bits around it. Canvas can be a little bit fiddly when you're editing in this way, which I'm sure you've all seen. It's quite easy to break the style or break the layout, but there is something I can show you, which if you don't know already, which is very useful in that. So intro to biology, whatever the name of the module might be. Similarly down the bottom, this is a little table, so if you don't need the extra lines on the table, you can remove rows, or you can add more rows in as well. And just type in your information into the boxes. And when you're happy, you can hit save. Now the first sanity saver I think I wanted to mention was that, imagine I've done something wrong here. If you're looking at your page and you realize you've messed it up, if you go to the little dots at the top there, there's actually a page history option. And if you go in there, you'll see that's the revision I just made. So I just saved at 11:10. So that's my version of current one. This is the one which I started on. And you can actually roll the page back, the whole page back to a version before. So a quick tip is, if you're making changes, save it frequently, and then you'll build up a revision history, and you can roll back to an earlier version. And that can save you a lot of sanity. I've done that myself a lot of times. So that's in the top right, and then revision view page history. And that same principle applies to any page in Canvas. So whatever page you're editing, it's the same. You'll get the same options, the same kind of editing menu. So for example, the module overview page. If we go in here, so with a template, we try to put in sections which would be most useful. If, for example, your module doesn't have any pathways in it, you can just go and edit and delete this box out. So this template, another important point to say about a template, it's intended to be a it's intent to assist you, but not everything in it is compulsory. So if there are no pathways, you can delete the pathway bit out. So as you can see, I've done that. I've done that imperfectly. So if I save that, I messed it up. So go to view page history and restore that one. So it is a bit fiddly. One of the balances with Canvas is trying to make it look attractive, but also make it easy to edit. And it is a balance. It is tricky to edit some of these pages. We do appreciate that. But hopefully that trick will help you there. Okay, so the other main thing obviously on the module homepage is the module video, the welcome to the module video. Now at the moment, obviously Jerry's in there. And again, this is something, it's a bit fiddly to get your own video in there. So I'll just show you the kind of best way to do that. So what you want to do is delete Jerry's video and put your own one in. So what I'd recommend is, first of all, you use Panopto to record your video so you're ready to go. You've got the finished video ready to go, and I can show you a little bit how to do that in a moment. But when you're ready to drop your video in, you basically kind of got to get your cursor in the right place. So the easiest way I find to do it is if you click after assessment and feedback, just go down, and you'll see the cursor is blinking just underneath Jerry. Hit backspace twice, and Jerry's gone. And you should see a little cursor blinking in the middle there. And then if you want to insert your own Panopto video, click on the Panopto embed button at the top there. And what this will do, it will look in this Canvas course, the Panopto folder for this Canvas course, and find any videos for this Canvas course. So I recorded one last night, welcome to the module. Select that one, I click on insert, and then that should then drop it into the right place. I want to hit save. There we go. Now that's not centered. Don't worry too much about that. We're going to have a run through all of these after the just before start of term and center up the pages and tweak them a little bit just to make them more uniform. But there we go. That's how you get your video in the right place. Okay, so just quickly, I wanted to show you also Panopto within the Canvas environment. So I recorded that video into this Canvas course into Panopto directly. And the way I did that was I clicked on the Panopto link inside the Canvas course. And there have been a few questions about how you get Panopto on your computer. So this is Panopto inside of Canvas. If I wanted to record a new video, I'd click on Create, record a new session, and then open Panopto Recorder. So hopefully this will appear on the second monitor. So you'll see there it's opened up the Panopto Recorder. It's called Panopto Focus Recorder. You might be losing my video here because I'm trying to use the video for two things at once, Zoom and Panopto. So if you hit record here, it will just start recording me. It's recording my video device and my microphone, so I can do a welcome to the module video there. And then that will save it back into Panopto, but also into this Canvas folder here, which is basically looking at your Panopto folder. So that's the easiest way to get it in there. If you haven't got Panopto Recorder on your machine, there are various ways to do that, and I might ask one of the guys just to post a link in. It varies depending on whether you're on a university machine or or your own machine at home. If it's a university machine, you can download a Panopto Recorder by looking for Software Center. There's something called Software Center, which should be on all university machines, and that means you can install a Panopto Focus Recorder without admin rights. And just a word on this, you do need to be using the remote access to get to the Software Center. So If you try and download your Proctor Recorder, you can't see it in Software Center. That's because you're not on remote access. You need to log into remoteaccess.bham. Then you can go to Software Center and get your Proctor Recorder. But one of the guys will go to post the link there on the step-by-step instructions on getting that. A lot of these things I'm talking about are really kind of just set up steps. If you like, you only do once. So once you've got Proctor on your machine, it's very straightforward to record videos. And the process I showed you there, going to Proctor, going to create and record, is the same way that you can record not just your welcome video, but also any bits of video clip you want to give to this cohort of students. And that's about it for the homepage. As I say, you also need to check, at the moment this is linking to last year's undergraduate handbook by default in the template because the current year's ones weren't set up. So there are a few things just to check to make sure you've got the right admin contact, to make sure you've got the right handbook in there as well. But that's more or less it for the homepage. Okay, I'm going to go back to showing my screen now, and we're going to look at the week by week view, which is where there's a lot more stuff to look at in there. So, okay, so let's quickly show you how to edit one of those the undergraduate handbook link. So, edit. So anything which is a link in Canvas, when you click anywhere in it, you should see these two options here. So link to URL or remove link. So if I click on link to URL, then you should see it's basically just a web address, a URL address. So that's a link to another Canvas course, but that can just be changed to whatever you need it to be and hit update link. That will change the URL there. Okay, so the meat of the teaching materials and the structure, if you like, of the course is under the week by week section. So if I click into that, and what that's doing is taking you into the modules tool, what we call a modules tool in Canvas. So not to be confused with a teaching module, this is the Canvas modules tool, which is a separate thing. So each of these blocks of content here is called a module in Canvas. I know it's annoying terminology clash. And what we've done in the template, really think from a student point of view, is put in a module for each of the weeks. So you'll see week 1, 28th September 2020, and then week 2, week 3, week 4, and so on. Obviously, this will change depending on which semester you're teaching in. There's a few things to point out here. You see the little green ticks and the crosses. Anything with a cross through has not been published yet, so this is invisible to the students. Only green ticks can be seen by the students. So you see this one's been published, this one's been published, and these ones haven't. So that's the first thing to note. So this entire section at the top is basically guidance for you guys filling in the template. So there's information here which is meant to be like just in time. So if you want to copy stuff from a different course, there's information here on how to do that. So if you've got stuff from last year you want to bring over, this link will tell you how to do that. And there's a little help page in there. Similarly, if you want to copy content, if you've got loads of quizzes you want to set up and you want to duplicate them, and some stuff about editing the home page as well, editing the home page and the module titles. All these things in here we've set up as kind of helpers really. If you need to change anything, there's a little edit link by each one. So one of the things I wanted to show you here, you'll notice in week 1, September 28, it says complete all items. If you go to edit, requirements, student must complete all of these requirements. So what it's basically doing is building up a list of things within this module which you want students to definitely engage with. All that really does is it gives the student a visual indicator of what they've done. So when they're getting later on in the course, they'll start to see green ticks saying that, yes, I've finished that module for that week, that I finished that week, I finished all the things in that week that I need to do. So it's kind of a nice to have. It's a nice to have for the students. You can, if you don't want to go that route, you can take that off and just not have those requirements on there. But it's a nice visual indicator for the students. Similarly, we put things in here as kind of examples of how you can organize things. So these headers, firstly, you can drag them around. These aren't, I just want to be clear, I think this might have caused a bit of confusion. This isn't us saying you've got to do 4 hours worth of pre-live session activities, so activities to do before the live session, and 3 hours. That's not a diktat. That is just an example of how you might organize things. So you might have a header here saying activities to do before the live session, then a link to the Zoom conference, the webinar, and then some post activities after. If you don't want to use these, you can just get rid of them. So if those are just causing confusion, you can just take them out. That's fine. Conversely, if you want to add in more of those sections, if you go to the plus sign of the module header, you can add in more of those things, which are called text headers. Pre-lecture work. I'll drag that up there. And remember to publish it if you want students to see it. So, for example, say you wanted them to watch a video before the lecture. You might put that title in there. Click on Add again. Add a new page. New page, week 1 pre-lecture work. So add a new page. I'll put it under the pre-lecture work header. And pages are just anything like the home page. So this hasn't got any template on it, so it's just an empty page. But it's the same principle. If you go and edit it, give them some instructions. I might want to add in a video there. So very quickly there, you've given them a task, you've given them some idea about when they should do it, and you've given them the actual content as well. And again, don't forget to publish if you want them to see it. Let's go back to the modules tool. So hopefully you can see, you can start to build up for each week a structure in terms of what they're going to expect or what you expect them to do and when, but also the content as well can be dropped in there. I mentioned before, some of these things we put in as examples. So here there's a link to a discussion, a week 1 feedback discussion, where you might ask students to feedback on how they felt the week has gone or anything they've struggled with. That is optional. You don't have to have that in there. You can unpublish it if you don't want to use that. It's really just kind of a prompt. All these things, you can move them around as well. So as I said before, you can drag them around. You might add in a quiz. You might add in files and pages, discussions. In general, we'd recommend adding pages, and then if you've got, say, a PowerPoint or a link to an external website, it's usually best to add a page and then put the link inside of a page, because that way you can put some context around it. So I could, for example, just added that video straight in as a video link, but then there'd be no context to what the video was or when they should watch it or anything like that. So we do recommend normally having a page like this one and then embedding the content within it with some context, just to kind of make it a bit clearer for the students. And all this stuff, you know, just imagine you're a student coming in and they haven't got anyone necessarily to ask about this stuff and not in a lecture of anybody to ask for help. So this needs to be as clear as it can be, really, in terms of what you're expecting of them and how they do it and where they go to engage with stuff. And so the other final thing to mention is the week 1 outline. So for every week, there's an outline page. And again, the idea here is really just making things simple for the students so they know what to expect. So you might have here, this is what we're going to cover this week in the outline. You might want to put learning objectives for the week if you've broken things down that much. And again, as I said a few times, really, this is intended to be a help. We've broken things up into different days. If that's not helpful, just delete it out and you can put your own structure in there. But again, it's just really thinking about it all from a student point of view. It might be worth bouncing ideas off your module colleagues to make sure it's clear to them if they step through it as a naive user. Because there's a balance to be had between structuring things in the modules tool, as I showed you before with headers, and how much detail you put into this weekly overview. So this might be quite minimal in the end. If you've organized things in your modules tool with headers and pre-reading and pre-live session information, this bit in here might be quite minimal. You might just say, okay, I don't need this week by day breakdown here. That's too much duplication. So you might just decide to get rid of some of this stuff. And you're perfectly at liberty to do that and just have a more simple breakdown. So different ways to organize things. Whatever works best for you and your students is really the summary of that. And I think the other thing is we're going to miss those times, for example, at the end of lectures or kind of more kind of face-to-face events where you get to just remind students just very informally, oh, don't forget to do that reading, don't forget to do this. So the announcements tool is going to be really critical for that. So again, with announcements, you can actually link to other elements as well. So you can insert links to modules. So you might, for example, link to that. You might link straight to the week 1 module. So it might be a Monday morning message, for example. So you might want to say, don't forget to read the module out, the weekly outline. For example. So yeah, the announcements tool I think is going to be really, really important. It's very simple to do. The benefit of that, of course, is that if the students got their notifications set up correctly, they will get a notification email, which will have the message in. So that will, there's a way of prompting them to remember what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, so I think we'll move on from there onto the final section, which I was going to talk about, which was a little bit about the help and resources available from the HEFI. So a lot of the stuff we talked about at the moment is kind of the nuts and bolts of Canvas, if you like, and the template, how you organize things in there, how you edit things and change things, insert things. There's also a whole suite of information about actually teaching online. So obviously you can use Zoom and you can schedule like an hour-long session. You can do almost a live lecture over Zoom. And the problem with that is, of course, time zones is the first thing. If you've got students who are quarantined in a different part of the world, for example, or they can't get to the UK, you might have issues there. So it might be better from that point of view to pre-record lectures rather than doing them live, which is one option using Panopto. Or to record the Zoom session. If you're doing a live thing, you can record Zoom as well and give them access to recordings. If you add Zoom into Canvas, into your Canvas module, and record the Zoom session, it will put that recording into Panopto for that course. So it should do that automatically. So that's one thing to think about, and one reason for triggering Zoom from within Canvas, I guess, because these things are all talking to each other. I'm just going to share my screen again and go into the additional resources. So excuse me 1 second. Actually, just quickly, I'll show you the student view. So I'm in my module again now. If I hit settings and go into student view. So this is what the students will see. And you'll see the main difference if I go into week by week. So you had loads of stuff inside of there. They're only seeing these bits because that's the only thing that's been published. So we're not seeing that guidance for academics, not seeing week 2 or week 3 because they haven't been published yet. And I mentioned the complete all items. So in this module, only week 1 outline has been set as the necessary completion item. So we don't have to do this part. And so they're getting a tick next to complete all items, so they know they've done what they need to for that week. As I say, that's an optional setting, but it's quite useful one, I think. To get out of student view, you see it's all pink at the bottom. Click leave student view. Okay, so I mentioned Zoom. I think actually we're going to ripple through all the modules and add Zoom into them. I think Alison kindly agreed to go through the 400 modules, I think, in Les and add Zoom in. And she didn't agree. She knows now and she can't back out because it's a public forum. So sorry about that, Alison. But if you want to add in yourself, if you want to add Zoom yourself, if you go to settings for your module, and you'll see at the top here, these are the items which are available on the menu. And down here, there's Zoom. So you can add that one in there. And then when I hit save, Zoom will appear on the menu there. And so Zoom works. There's some testing going on still with Zoom because if you go into Zoom as a teacher, you can set up and schedule meetings, but we want Canvas to go to pick up all the other teachers that module as well. So IT is doing some tweaks in the background to make sure that all other teachers are added as co-hosts to add some more resilience to those Zoom meetings. That works quite well at integration. As I say, it also integrates into Panopto. If you record via Zoom here, set your meetings up via Zoom here, it knows which campus course to put a recording in. So that's quite a nice extra. Okay, so back into week by week. So I mentioned there's guidance built into the template, so under here. And one of the things we haven't really talked about much is the kind of pedagogy of this. So pedagogy of online learning is a massive subject. And you know, nobody's got time to become an expert online educator in the next 3 weeks. So what we tried to do is just give you some ideas. So in here, there's a watch, do, interact, reflect, read framework. And this is really just to give you some thoughts about how you might want to do things slightly differently in an online environment. If you find you're not able to see your students at all face-to-face, it might get a bit dry for them just watching videos every week. So this is some ideas about different types of activity which you can quite easily do within Canvas using Canvas's standard tools. Reflective tasks, obviously reading tasks are fairly straightforward. Interactive tasks using discussion boards or the chat rooms. Doing tasks with actually going up and doing something and creating something perhaps. And various types of watching tasks, so things which aren't just a straightforward video. But what I really wanted to highlight here was this link, which is the link to the heavy resources. So you can get to this in a couple of ways. There's a link inside the template there, or if you just go to University of Birmingham and Teaching Excellence, you get to heavy pages, or just Google Heavy. And under that first box there, advice and guidance on bimodal teaching, you'll find a curated set of resources to help you. This first box here is real how-to guide. So how to do things in Panopto, and we mentioned a few times about downloading Panopto. If you go into Panopto how-to, there's a page here on downloading the Panopto recorder. So that'll take you through the stuff I talked about, searching for the software center, and making sure you're using remote access and that kind of thing. And various kind of, what we try to do is pull out the most asked questions about these different technologies, so the most asked things about Panopto, the most asked things about Canvas and PebblePad, conferencing tools as well. So hopefully that's a useful preparing for teaching online. That's the kind of most asked things. And then I keep going back to the wrong page. Sorry, I'm flicking all over the place. And then the other big one is the designing and delivering online teaching. So this is the remote teaching resource, which I think many of you have probably seen already. And in here, there's a load of really in-depth pedagogical information about how to teach online. creating videos and different ways of using videos, discussion boards, different ways of using discussion boards. And this isn't just theoretical stuff, this is real practical examples of if you want to use discussion boards and get some interactivity going in your course, how can you structure that? What are best ways to structure that and get that off the ground? So really recommend having a look at that. It also covers personal academic tutoring as well. Personal academic tutoring is covered in there too. So a wealth of resources. But the key takeaway point is just search for HEFI, Google HEFI, and you'll get to all those resources all in one place. Okay. I'm aware we're just about out of time now, so just to say thank you very much for watching. I hope that was useful. We'll put this recording in the Les webinars area, but also we'll put it onto a remote teaching resource as well, which is the global one. So there's a copy of this. What we'll also do is take a copy of the chat as well and make sure we've covered every question which was raised, and if not, we'll follow those up afterwards as well. We might post a little thing in Canvas just covering off any questions which we missed. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully that was useful, and good luck with the University Canvas framework. Thank you, everyone.